Hi, folks. This is Bill. I am not in AT Maker's working mode, obviously. I'm taking a break from my day job today to do something that Steve Spawn has asked me to do. I want to do more than I want to do my day job at the moment, but that's more important. Except for the last, I don't know, hour or two, where I've kind of taken a break. And I have some questions that I need to send to some friends of mine at Adafruit and maybe others if they have maybe John Jordan and people like that might have some input on this. So I'm going to make this video. I would have gone live on Facebook, but the truth is the people who I want to see it are more on YouTube. Uh, Something I just learned, they've changed their rules. I can't go live from my phone on YouTube because I don't have enough subscribers. So if you have a chance, subscribe to me. I hate asking for that because everybody else does, but it would help. So if you're a fan on Facebook, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. That would be very helpful. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be able to take a micro-proportional joystick like this one. You've probably seen it with the box, which has a standard 9-pin output, and use it as input for something else other than a power chair. Steve wants to use it in gaming. There's lots of other good uses for this. It's something we want to do. I went ahead and put together a PCB board for it, a layout for it, using the reference diagram, the reference schematic. And I decided before I went off and made that, I would go ahead and make one on a breadboard. What I found out is there's a lot I don't know about power filtering and things like that. So I have some questions. So if you guys will indulge me, I'm going to talk through a couple things. The board, let's see where I put it. Well, I have pictures of it. That's good enough. So the board we're talking about, the chip we're talking about using, is the Maxim 730, Max 732, and it is this chip right here. It takes in. Let me walk you kind of through it. The circuit's pretty simple. We'll be using some type of a microcontroller like this Itsy Bitsy M4. This one is probably not exactly the one we'll use. We're going to make this into a feather wing, and this will pop onto a feather, any feather. They all have USB pin available. So here's the ground and the USB power going to this top rail. That comes down here into the chip for power and ground. This ground is jumpered down to the bottom as well. This power also hits the enable pin right here, which enables the chip. And then the output right here comes down to the bottom rail. So at the end, the top rail will have 5 volts from the USB. The bottom should have a regulated 12 volts coming out the bottom. Now, this sounds nice and simple. It's not quite as easy as all that. Because if you look, I'll show you the standard schematic. This is the data sheet for the Max 732, and come on, yeah. So it has it in several different applications, but here's the standard application circuit right here. So here's the chip, 6-pin chip, and I've kind of got it wired up this way as far as the wires go. But you'll see there's a bunch of other external components. I know what most of them do, but I don't know how specific they're going to be on the range of these values. So let's go through them, and we'll talk through what I have on hand and whether or not I can get away with using them. Down up here at the top is the input. Here's the input. The USB is going to come in here. There are two capacitors here, C2 and C3. So one is for low and one is for high filter, high frequency ripple. So this is to clean up the input voltage to the chip. I have a zero point 0.1 microfarad capacitor that I can use. I do not have a 150 microfarad electrolytic capacitor. I'll talk about that in a minute with what I do have. I can either add multiples here or just get away with what I have. There's an inductor here, which is a 50 microhenry inductor. I have a 47 microhenry inductor, and I cannot imagine that that'll be a problem. So I don't think I'm going to have a problem here. I do have a Zener diode, a 12 volt Zener diode. It is a different model, but I have one to use. This is a output filter here. So the output of this chip is run across a capacitor to ground. This is a 300 microfarad capacitor. I don't have this. I do have a 470, and I think it's going to be fine. We'll talk through these again in a minute. As far as these others, I have values that are pretty close. So these bottom three, I have exactly what it asks for. And then this one, I don't have a 0.15, but I have a 0.1, and I think it's going to be fine microfarad. So I'm going to put these into the breadboard and see if they work. But let me kind of go back here for a second to what I actually do have and what I don't. So here are the capacitors that I have on hand. I have a 1 microfarad. For the C3, the incoming power filter, I don't have a 150 microfarad. I have 47s. I have several of them. I know I could put 3 of them in parallel and get very close to 150 microfarads. I don't know if it's necessary. The incoming USB should be very clean. It's coming out of an Xbox or a computer on a USB line. And it's already being filtered on the way out of that. I can't really imagine that I need this, but I'd like to get some feedback on whether or not I need it. I'm planning on putting this 47 microfarad electrolytic in there instead. On the output, I do not have a 300, but I do have a 450, so I'm planning on using that instead. And then on C5 here, I'm planning on using a 0.1 instead of 0.15 microfarad. I could do bigger than that instead if that would be better. I have other options. I have a 0.22 instead of a 0.15. Which of those, I'm not sure which one is better. Otherwise, I have the filters that I need. The other big question that I have, in the long run, I have 2 choices here. One is make the end board through-hole components like this. And in addition to these capacitors and the inductor, I have a picture of the inductor. I don't think it matters. Here's the inductor and here's the diode. I am surprised, by the way, that this has one longer pin, because I don't think inductors are directional. I don't think they have a positive and a negative, but I am not entirely sure about that. It's been a long time since I've done anything like this. So, but one of my questions is, I can make this board plated through-hole components, and then it'll be easy for teams and individual makers to assemble. But these components are freaking huge. Like these capacitors are kind of enormous. They're going to take up a ton of space. And I know that there are through-hole versions of all of these things at the same capacity, at the same levels, that are much, much smaller. So I guess my question is, anybody got any opinions on this? Am I better off doing something that's easier to assemble, or am I better off making this a board that has to be assembled professionally? So I don't know the answer to that yet. I'd like some feedback on it. But I guess from my friends at Adafruit, so Dan Halbert, Lemore, I don't know, Phil B, folks over in the Discord, what am I doing wrong here? Am I is anything going to go horribly wrong here? I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and assemble it and power it up. But like I don't have a scope, so I'm not going to be able to see any ripple on it. I don't think it's going to matter. I think that this device is used to getting powered from a power chair. It's going to be used to being fed horrible data. Certainly there's filtering components in here. And I've powered it from both a wall wart and a battery pack, and it works just fine. I don't know how important all this filtering is. So I guess that's my base question here is, do I really have to go through all this? I'll do it as a prototype here, but if there's any of these I can omit, I would love to know that. Certainly these big ones I would love to omit. On the inductor, I'd love to omit. That's actually a pricey component. So that's all this is. Let me post this up on YouTube, and I'm going to post it to the Discord and ask for the help. And I do appreciate all your help. I'm sorry I'm kind of AWOL this month. I'm doing something awesome for Lesson Picks, my day job, and it's eating up all of my time, which is what I should be doing right now. But I'm kind of sneaking in some time here on this one to see if I can't help Steve out. Thanks a lot for all your help. And yes, go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, because for some reason they're not letting me stream until I get 1,000. So, bye guys.